What I saw on those camera feeds made my hands shake so badly I had to set down my coffee. The cup clattered against the hotel desk, but I couldn't look away from the screen. My own son was standing in my study, and the words coming out of his mouth turned my blood to ice. Let me back up. That Monday morning in late November, I was sitting at my usual spot in the breakfast nook of my lakefront home in Seattle. The rain was doing its typical Pacific Northwest thing, drumming steadily against the windows. I'd just turned 63 the week before, and my son Daniel had made a big show of the celebration. Dinner at Canlis, champagne, the works. He'd even brought his new girlfriend, Jessica. They'd been dating for about 6 months, though this was only the second time I'd met her. I was reading the morning paper when Daniel walked in. He'd stayed over in the guest house after the birthday dinner, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the look on his face. Serious. Almost rehearsed. "Dad," he said, pouring himself coffee, "we need to talk about something important." I folded the paper. "What's on your mind?" He sat down across from me. "I've been thinking. You're getting older. You've had that health scare last year with your heart. Have you thought about what happens to everything when you're gone?" The question hit me like a slap. Not because it was unreasonable. At 63, after a minor heart issue, estate planning is smart. But it was the way he asked, the timing, the tone, like he'd been working up to it. "I have a will, Daniel. Everything's handled." "Right. But is it updated? When's the last time you looked at it?" "That's between me and my attorney." He leaned forward. "Dad, I'm just trying to help. Jessica's background is in finance. She was saying that people our age often don't realize how vulnerable they are. Identity theft, fraud, people taking advantage." "People our age?" I raised an eyebrow. "Son, you're 35. You know what I mean. Successful people. Wealthy people. You've built something incredible with your real estate development business. We just want to make sure it's protected." There it was. We. Not you. We. "I appreciate the concern," I said carefully, "but I've got it under control." Jessica appeared in the doorway at that exact moment. Coincidence? Maybe. But something in my gut said otherwise. "Morning, Mr. Barrett," she said, with that bright smile of hers. Too bright. I couldn't help overhearing. "Daniel's right to be concerned. I've seen so many families torn apart by poor planning. If you ever want me to take a look at your documents, I'd be happy to. Pro bono, of course." I stood up. "That won't be necessary. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some calls to make." As I walked toward my study, I heard Daniel whisper something to Jessica. I caught the words "stubborn" and "we'll have to try another way." I shut the study door and stood there for a long moment. Something felt wrong. The same instinct that had helped me navigate 30 years of cutthroat real estate deals was screaming at me now. I walked to my desk. Everything looked normal at first. Then I noticed it. The pen holder on the left side of my desk was now on the right. The stack of folders I always keep squared up was slightly off-center. Someone had been in here. I opened the bottom drawer where I keep my personal files. The tabs were out of order. Just slightly, but enough that I could tell. Someone had gone through them. My heart was pounding now. Not the scary kind of pounding from last year's health scare, but the kind that comes from anger and betrayal mixing together. I found Marcus in the garage. He was waxing my car, something he did every Monday morning like clockwork. Marcus had been my driver and handyman for 15 years. He'd been there when my wife left, when the business almost went under in 2008, when Daniel graduated college. Loyal didn't even begin to cover it. "Marcus," I said quietly, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." He straightened up, reading my tone. "Of course, Mr. Barrett. Has anyone been in my study when I wasn't home?" His jaw tightened. He glanced toward the house, then back at me. I wasn't sure if I should say anything. My stomach dropped. "Tell me." "Saturday afternoon. You'd gone to that developers conference downtown. Mr. Daniel and his girlfriend, they asked me for the code to the house. Said they wanted to surprise you by organizing some old photos for your birthday. I gave it to them. Didn't think anything of it at the time." "How long were they here?" 3 hours, maybe more. I was doing yard work, so I didn't keep exact track. But Mr. Barrett, he hesitated. "What Later that evening, when I was closing up the garage, I heard them talking. They were standing by Mr. Daniel's car. The windows were down. I wasn't trying to listen, but I heard Miss Jessica say something about the documents in the safe, and we need the combination. The world seemed to tilt slightly. Are you certain that's what you heard? Yes, sir, I'm certain. And Mr. Daniel said something like, he'll never give it to me willingly, and she said, then we'll have to find another way. I stood there in my garage, rain drumming on the roof, and felt something inside me go cold and hard. Marcus, I said slowly, do me a favor. Don't mention this conversation to anyone. Not Daniel, not Jessica, not anyone. You have my word, sir. But Mr. Barrett, what are they planning? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed running through scenarios. None of them were good. At 3 a.m, I got up and went to my study. I opened the safe. Everything was there. Stock certificates, property deeds, my will, my late mother's jewelry. Nothing missing. But someone wanted access to it. Why? I pulled out my will and read through it again. Standard stuff. Daniel got 70% of the estate. Various charities got the rest. I'd set it up that way 5 years ago when he'd graduated business school and seemed to be getting his life together. Now I was questioning everything. The next morning, I called my attorney, Richard Rodriguez. We'd known each other for 20 years. Richard, I said when he picked up, I need you to be completely candid with me. If someone wanted to have me declared incompetent so they could take control of my assets, what would that look like? There was a long pause. Gerald, what's going on? Just answer the question. They'd need medical evidence. Documentation of diminished mental capacity. Usually multiple doctors' opinions. Then they'd petition the court for conservatorship. But Gerald, why are you asking this? Another question. If they couldn't get me declared incompetent, what other options would they have to access my assets while I'm still alive? Power of attorney would be the most direct route, but you'd have to sign that voluntarily. Or, look, are you in some kind of danger? I don't know yet. Can you do me a favor? Don't tell anyone we had this conversation, and I want you to draft a new will for me. I'll come by your office this week with the details. Gerald, you're worrying me. Good. That makes 2 of us. I hung up and sat there thinking. If Daniel and Jessica wanted power of attorney or access to the safe, they'd need me either incapacitated or absent. The question was, what were they planning? That's when the idea hit me. Thanksgiving was in 3 days. I always hosted a big dinner. Daniel, Jessica, a few close friends. What if I gave them an opportunity? What if I made them think I was going to be gone? I picked up the phone and called my friend Tom, who runs a yacht charter business. Tom, I need you to do me a favor and keep it completely confidential. Over the next 2 days, I set everything up. I told Daniel I'd been invited to join my friend Tom on a last-minute 5-day cruise to Vancouver. Some developer friends, business networking, that sort of thing. I'd miss Thanksgiving, but what could I do? Daniel's reaction was interesting, too enthusiastic. That's great, Dad. You should definitely go. You deserve a break. When do you leave? Wednesday morning. I'll be back Monday evening. We'll hold down the fort here. In fact, why don't Jessica and I stay at the house while you're gone? You know, to keep an eye on things. There it was. That's not necessary, I said. No, really. We insist. You've got this big place on the water. Someone should be here. Plus, it'll give us a chance to host Thanksgiving here since you'll be gone. Keep the tradition alive. I pretended to consider it. Well, if you're sure it's not too much trouble. No trouble at all, Dad. You just have a great time on your cruise. His smile didn't reach his eyes. That night, I called a security company I'd used for one of my development projects. By Tuesday afternoon, they had cameras installed in my study, the hallway outside it, the living room, and the kitchen, completely hidden. The feeds went to a secure app on my tablet. But here's the thing. I wasn't actually going on any cruise. There's an apartment on the 3rd floor of my house that almost nobody knows about. It's technically part of the original structure, but it was the maids' quarters back in the 1920s when the house was built. The previous owner had converted it to storage. I'd restored it 5 years ago as a private retreat. Separate entrance, complete kitchen and bathroom. Daniel had been living in New York when I did the renovation. He'd never even seen it. That's where I was going to spend my cruise. Wednesday morning came. I made a big production of leaving. Suitcase in the car. Marcus drove me to the marina. I waved goodbye to Daniel and Jessica, who were standing on my front porch like they already owned the place. Marcus drove me around the block. We waited 20 minutes. Then he dropped me at the service entrance to my own home. I climbed the old servant's stairs to the 3rd floor, locked myself in, and settled in to watch. For the first few hours, nothing happened. Jessica and Daniel moved their things into the main guest room. They cooked lunch, normal stuff. Then, around 4 in the afternoon, I saw Jessica on her phone. She was standing in the living room, and the camera picked up her voice clearly. "Yeah, he's gone. 5 days. Perfect timing. Pause. No, the old man has no idea. Daniel's got him completely convinced this is all about protecting his legacy." She laughed. "I know, right? He actually thinks his son cares." My blood went cold. She walked toward the study. The camera there caught her trying the door. Locked, of course. I'd locked it before I left. "Daniel," she called. "The study's locked." My son appeared. He looked uncomfortable. "Maybe we should wait. What if Marcus comes by?" I gave Marcus the week off, remember? Told him we didn't need him while your dad was gone. He thinks he's doing us a favor by staying away. Daniel pulled out a set of lockpicks. Actual lockpicks. My son stood there and picked the lock to my study like a common thief. They went inside. "Okay," Jessica said, pulling out her phone and opening what looked like photos. According to the documents Daniel photographed last time, the combination should be 6 digits. His birthday backwards is the most likely. Daniel went to the safe. He tried several combinations. None worked. "Damn it," Jessica muttered. "Okay, plan B. Where's the folder with his medical records?" "Filing cabinet." She went to my filing cabinet and started pulling files. "Here. Perfect. These will work." "Work for what?" Daniel asked. He sounded uncertain now. "Your father had that heart episode last year, right? And he's on medication. All we need is one doctor to say he's showing signs of cognitive decline, confusion, memory issues. My contact at Silver Hills can make that happen." "Silver Hills?" "That's a memory care facility." "Exactly. And once he's there, you'll have medical backing for a conservatorship petition. Then you'll have full access to everything." I watched my son's face on that screen. Watched him struggle with something. Morality? Conscience? I couldn't tell. "Jessica, I don't know. That seems extreme. I just wanted to know where things stood financially. Maybe get him to add me to some of the accounts." "Daniel," her voice turned sharp. "We've been over this. Your father screwed over my father 20 years ago, took that downtown development deal right out from under him. It bankrupted his company. He lost everything. This isn't just about you getting your inheritance early. This is about justice." My mind reeled. Her father, 20 years ago, downtown development deal. And then it clicked. Robert Chen, the Waterfront Plaza project. Robert Chen had been my competitor on that deal. It was 2005, maybe 2006. We were both bidding on a major mixed-use development on the Seattle waterfront. I won the bid fair and square. My financing was better. My design was better. My timeline was more realistic. But Chen had been furious. He'd accused me of bribing city officials, though he could never prove it because it wasn't true. His company went under a year later, but that was because of his own poor decisions on other projects. And this woman, standing in my study, was his daughter. And she'd spent 6 months dating my son, earning his trust, all to get revenge for something that happened 2 decades ago. "Wait," Daniel was saying on the camera. "Your father lost a deal to my dad? And you didn't think to mention this before? Would it have changed anything? Your father is a ruthless businessman. He built his empire by crushing people like my dad. Don't you want what's rightfully yours? But you said you loved me." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Daniel, you're a means to an end. A useful one, I'll admit. But once we have control of your father's assets, I'm gone. My father gets half for his suffering, and you can keep the rest." Though honestly, you're so spineless, I'm not sure you deserve it. The look on my son's face broke something in me. Even through my anger, even through my betrayal, I saw my boy realize he'd been played, used, manipulated. "Get out," he said quietly. "Excuse me? Get out of my father's house. Now." "Daniel, don't be stupid. We're so close." "I said get out." He was shaking. I thought we were just going to look at his finances, make sure he was okay. You're talking about putting him in a home, taking everything he's built, using me to get revenge on him. "No, I'm not doing this." "Then you're an idiot." She grabbed her purse. "You had one chance to be something more than your father's disappointing son, and you blew it." She stormed out. I watched on the cameras as she left the house, got in her car, and drove away. Daniel stood alone in my study. He looked around at my things, the photos on the wall, the model buildings from my various developments. He picked up a picture of the two of us from his college graduation. Then he sat down in my chair and put his head in his hands. I gave him 30 minutes. Then I walked downstairs. The look on his face when I walked into that study was something I'll never forget. Shock, horror, shame, all of it at once. "Dad, you're supposed to be on a cruise?" "No, son. I've been upstairs the whole time, watching." I pulled out my tablet and showed him the camera feeds. He turned white. "How long have you been watching?" "Since you and Jessica broke into my study this afternoon. I heard everything." He couldn't meet my eyes. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was. I thought we were just..." His voice broke. "I'm so sorry." I sat down across from him. "Daniel, why did you do this? Why didn't you just come to me if you had questions about the estate?" "Because I'm 35, and I'm still dependent on you for everything." The words burst out of him. "I've never built anything myself, never succeeded at anything that wasn't handed to me. Jessica made me feel like maybe I could be in control of something for once, but she was just using me. And I let her because I'm exactly what she said, spineless." The pain in his voice was real. The regret was real. But so was the betrayal. "You picked the lock to my study," I said quietly. "You went through my files. You were willing to let her put me in a memory care facility so you could get access to my money." "I didn't know about that part. I swear, Dad. I thought we were just going to look at documents. When she started talking about doctors and facilities, that's when I told her to leave. Only after you realized she didn't actually care about you." He flinched. "You're right. And I hate that you're right. I don't know how to fix this." I looked at my son, really looked at him, and I saw someone who'd been lost for a long time, someone who'd been handed everything and learned nothing, someone who'd just learned the hardest lesson of his life. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "First, you're going to call Richard Rodriguez first thing tomorrow morning. You're going to tell him everything that happened here. Everything. Then you're going to sign an affidavit swearing that you had no knowledge of Jessica Chen's real identity or her intentions regarding the memory care facility. Her last name is Chen? Her father is Robert Chen. 20 years ago, I won a development bid that he wanted. It was fair competition, but he never accepted that. He blamed me for his company's failure, even though that was his own mismanagement. Jessica has apparently spent 6 months manipulating you to get revenge." Daniel looked sick. "What else?" "You're moving out of the guest house. Tonight, you're going to find your own place, get your own job that has nothing to do with my company, and you're going to prove to me that you can build something yourself." "What about the will?" "I'm changing it. You'll get 10% held in a trust. You can only access it after 5 years of complete financial independence from me. No loans, no gifts, no jobs in my companies. And you have to demonstrate genuine philanthropic work in that time. Volunteer hours, charitable giving from your own earned income. Prove to me that you understand money isn't just for taking, it's for doing good." His eyes filled with tears. "And if I do all that, then in 5 years, we'll talk. Maybe you'll get more. Maybe you'll prove that you've grown into someone I can trust again. But Daniel, trust once broken doesn't heal quickly." "I understand." He stood up. "For what it's worth, I really am sorry. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making this right. Start by calling the police in the morning. Tell them everything about Jessica Chen. What she said about putting me in a facility against my will. Her real identity. All of it. You want me to turn her in? I want you to do the right thing for once. Not because it benefits you. Because it's right. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it. After Daniel left, I went to find Marcus. He was in the garage apartment where he lived on the property. Marcus, I said, I need to tell you something. I explained everything. The cameras, the fake crews, what I'd seen, what I'd done. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You're a good man, Mr. Barrett, and you were right not to trust your first instinct to ignore what I told you. I want you to know something, I said. I'm redoing my will. You're getting 20% of the estate. Mr. Barrett, that's not necessary. Yes, it is. You've been more loyal to me than my own son. You've been here through everything. 20% is yours. It's not charity. It's what you've earned. His eyes got wet. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep working for me until I retire, which, honestly, might be sooner than I thought. He smiled. You've got yourself a deal, sir. The next morning, Daniel called me. He'd spent the night at a hotel. I talked to Attorney Rodriguez. He's filing the affidavit, and I called the police. They want to talk to me this afternoon. Good. Dad, thank you. For what? For not giving up on me completely. For giving me a chance to fix this. Daniel, I'm your father. I love you. But love doesn't mean I'm going to keep enabling you to be less than you can be. I know. And I'm going to prove to you that I can be better. 2 weeks later, Jessica Chen was arrested on charges of conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted extortion. Turned out she'd done this before, to another family, though they'd settled quietly out of court. This time, with Daniel's testimony and my camera footage, the case was solid. Her father, Robert Chen, contacted me through an attorney. He claimed he had no knowledge of his daughter's plans. Maybe that was true, maybe it wasn't. Either way, his bitterness over losing that deal 20 years ago had poisoned his daughter into seeking revenge. That wasn't my fault, but it was tragic nonetheless. Daniel moved to Portland. Last I heard, he got a job at a commercial real estate firm, entry level. He's working his way up. He calls me every Sunday. We don't talk about what happened. We talk about his work, about what he's learning, small steps. Marcus and I still have our Monday morning talks while he waxes the car. Last week, he told me he's thinking about asking his girlfriend to marry him. I told him he'd better, because I want to walk him down the aisle at the wedding. As for me, I'm still here in my lakefront house in Seattle, still running my business, though I'm starting to think about transitioning some of it to younger partners, not Daniel. Maybe someday, but not yet. I learned something through all of this. Money doesn't just attract people who care about you. It attracts people who care about what you have. The real test of loyalty isn't what people do when they think you're watching. It's what they do when they think you're not. I also learned that sometimes the people you expect to betray you are capable of doing the right thing when it matters most. Daniel failed the first test, but when the stakes got highest, when Jessica revealed her true nature, he chose integrity over easy money. That's not nothing. And I learned that family isn't always blood. Marcus has been more of a son to me in his actions than Daniel has been in 35 years. That's changing now, maybe. But the lesson stands. If you're listening to this and you're in a similar situation, if you suspect someone close to you is more interested in your assets than in you, trust that instinct. Verify it. Set up systems to protect yourself. But also, give people a chance to prove they can change. Because the thing about betrayal is this. It doesn't just reveal who can't be trusted. Sometimes, if you're very lucky, it reveals who can be trusted after all. That Tuesday morning when I pretended to leave for a cruise but instead stayed to watch my own house, I thought I was going to catch a thief. What I actually caught was something more complicated. I caught my son at his weakest moment, and I saw him choose to be better. That's not redemption yet, but it's a start. And for now, that's enough.